So 2018. So you already failed by that time.
Yeah, I think so. I'm out of there.
So like connecting your timeline, like you failed school, and then you're starting your.
I failed school. I went into an internship for like a marketing place for maybe like a couple of weeks. There were some cute girls there. Not gonna lie, miss you guys. And then after that, I started working for a different company where I worked at the T-Mobile Arena to do events. So I did that for a few months, all the way up until I got the job where I work now, almost 5 years and 8 days. It'll be 5 years, but that was the timeline, 2018.
Yeah, so then in that time, I think by that time I got married. So I got into a relationship in school. That we started school 2016.
Yeah.
And then 2017, and then I think I got married like only a year in, right?
Did you? You were still in school?
Like everything's like
blurry. Yeah. But somewhere there I got married. You got married.
Maybe 2 years into the relationship I got married.
Okay.
So then 2018, like my relationship with her like started to get like rocky. We would argue about stuff that just like old arguments. One of the old arguments was it was about like me going to a strip club before me even like meeting her. And then
is that when you said thing in the car that you did? When you were like, oh, did you go to that place?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And then you did the said thing.
Yeah.
That was okay. All right.
Well, it's because she asked me. She's like, so in a relationship, like I wanted to be really transparent, like
yeah, like an open book.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna like hide things from her. So like one of the things she asked was like, oh, have you ever been to a strip club? I said yeah, and then I did this at the strip club.
Oh, you told her that?
I told her what I did at the strip club.
Wow, Bing chilling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I told her what I did at the strip club, and then that was just like a reoccurring argument. She would be like, oh, you like women with like big titties and
who doesn't?
Yeah, and then she would just like bring that up, like it'd be out of like nowhere. Like she would be like, oh, you don't think I'm pretty enough because I don't have big boobs like the girls at the strip club. Like it was just like it would like start from that, and then that argument like it would just keep getting like bigger and bigger.
Not the titties, the problem.
Yeah, the problem. There's another argument that would keep like reoccurring, and I think this is funny still. It was like one of those like what if scenarios.
To this day.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Do you remember this scenario?
Explain it. Remind us.
So it was a scenario where she was like, oh, so if I didn't exist, like, would you go after this person?
Would you still love me if I was a worm?
Yeah, it was like one of those questions, but this question was like...
That was specific.
It was, if I didn't exist, would you go after this person? Which was one of our classmates. And then...
Shout out. I'm just kidding.
It's my turn. But, so then I was like, so if you didn't exist, like I didn't know you at all. Like I was like, yeah, so I've never met you. I don't know you. You don't exist in this world. In this question that she came up with. Right. And then she's like, yeah, I don't exist. And I was like, yeah, I would go after her if you didn't exist. Well, I didn't say I would go after her. I said I would be interested in going after her. And then in her head, she turned that into me liking
that person.
But then in my head, I put myself in a headspace where she didn't exist.
Okay, so just to cut off Anthony there, that's a fucking mistake. So when a girl asks you, like when your significant other, sniff that shit over there, bro. That thing. No. The chapstick looking thing, the black thing. Yeah. Just put it like on your nose and go. Not hard, soft. Oh, closer. It's got to be in there. Both sides, maybe. He's got to do it.
Work?
Yeah, it actually works. It clears it up, but you have to like put it in there. You can put it on your nose. Don't not in.
Did you put this in your nose?
No, it just on, like on my upper. Okay. Anyways, as I was saying, he failed the fucking test. Okay, that's always a test that some people do, and okay, so regardless, you need to just say no. If they say, "Would you still love me if I was a worm?" You say yes, because even if it was a real scenario or not, they're still there. You're still in a relationship with them, and they're gonna start thinking of shit and making up shit in their own head. So just say, yes, I will always love you, even if you were a fucking worm. But he learned that.
Yeah,
So
I learned that now.
Yeah, so carry on.
But that's dumb. Like,
It is dumb. I don't know why. Why? If you guys can answer why you guys do that, and it just like doesn't lead to anything really good, why do you guys do that? That's a question for those kinds of people.
like if the next girl that I date, she's like, "Oh, would you still like me if I was a worm?" I'd be like, "No, you're a worm. How can I? Can this work?"
But what if she laughs it off? Like she just like takes it as a joke for real.
Yeah, then that would.
Then she's a keeper.
Yeah, then she's a keeper.
Yeah.
But then if she gets like actually like butthurt, she's like, "Why don't you love me if I'm a worm?"
Yeah.
But she's like serious about it.
Yeah. No, you gotta end it right there and
Yeah.
then. That's yeah. We have boundaries now. I think.
Yeah.
I've had boundaries. That's why I haven't talked to anybody in a long time. But anyways, carry on.
So yeah, so like our arguments would be reoccurring arguments. They wouldn't be. I feel like a lot of people that argue would be like either about like, oh, you're cheating, or it'd be like about like bills. But like for the most part, we didn't argue. It was just old arguments that we were arguing about.
Mm-hmm.
So like that started like from like 2018. I think by that time we were already like. So this is where it starts getting like start going like downhill. So we were doing long distance relationships, or long distance relationship at first, because she was living in California. I was living in Vegas, and then eventually she came to live with me in Vegas. At that time, my dad was already not welcoming her into the house. Like he didn't want.
Your parents were living with you at this time.
Yeah, in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents, even though it was my house, they had like the master bedroom. My brother actually had a bigger room than what I had.
Mm-hmm.
I had the smallest room in the house, even though
it was your house.
It was my house.
Yeah.
So I told my dad, like, hey, this girl is going to live with me. At that time, I wasn't married yet.
Okay.
So now I'm starting to remember. So my dad was already like not welcoming her, basically saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna have any privacy if she lives here. It's gonna be weird. Like you guys are moving too fast." Looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, we did move fast.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so she moves in from California. The reason why she went to California was because she wanted to get her cosmetology license, and I actually paid for part of her school to finish. Not
what?
Not cosmetology, esthetician.
Esthetician.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, so I paid a little bit. It wasn't that expensive.
Oh, okay.
Like a couple thousand.
Oh, can I have a couple thousand?
You know?
God damn.
But so she finishes her school. Her plan was to like basically like start a business. Like, so once she moves in, like she wanted to like start bringing in like clientele. So I feel like that this is where it started to make the relationship between my parents and her rocky.
I remember this.
She invited one of our classmates, which is like a hairy dude. Like he's pretty hairy.
Ah.
And she brought him into the room. But I trusted the guy, and at the time I trusted her. And the guy, he just wanted his back to be waxed.
Okay.
So that's all they did, was like she waxed his back. And then my dad like saw that, like, hey, you're not home, and she just brought a random dude that I don't know into the room it was just those two. So I could see from my dad's perspective, like, what's going on here.
Mhm.
And then I told my dad, like, oh, she pulled his hair off, basically. And my dad was like,
She's doing her job, basically.
yeah, like, she's doing her job. Like, I could see that, like, oh, she's doing her job. But my dad is seeing that as, like, why are you letting her deal with another man and pulling his hair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, when you explain it like that.
Right.
But, like, I'm, like, thinking of it, like, if you go to your eyebrow lady, like, she's gonna do your eyebrows.
Mhm.
But my dad didn't see it like that.
Mhm.
So then, like, that's when it started getting, like, rocky right there. And I, like, had to talk to her. I'm like, hey, can you stop bringing, like,
Clients.
random people into the house?
Right.
So then she couldn't continue that. And then she started doing, like, random gigs. One gig she did was she basically was like a model to, like, hand out, like, pamphlets for like a chemical company, and that ended up having her become, like, some, like, manager of, like, the whole, like, West Coast. And I feel like it was just because, like, she was, like, pretty.
Mhm.
So at this time, like, as this is going on, the relationship between my mostly my dad and her was going downhill. And then that house that I had, I was like, oh, me and her are going to move out, and then you can keep the house. So then that's what I ended up doing. But then, like, after, like, 3 months, so we moved out. I let them keep the house, but after, like, 3 months, they weren't paying the house. And then, like, I just see them, like, my credit score going down. So then after, like, a few months, I told my dad, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna sell the house. And then, so long story short, I sell the house. I give half of the money that I made from the house. So I'll just say the number. So I made, like, about 100,000 from the house, and I gave 50K to my parents, and then I kept the 50K for me. And then my dad was, like, really, like, butthurt, like, oh, I can't believe you sold this house. This was basically, like, he saw it as his house.
Mhm.
And so as that was going on, me and her, we actually got married when we were moving out. And the thing that made it worse was when me and her decided to get married, we wanted it to not have anyone know. But the only reason why my parents found out was because when we got married,
It was in the mail.
it was in the mail. Like, I forgot that the address that we put on there was to my
Your
old
house.
my old house. And then so this letter comes in, and then on the letter it says marriage documents in big red letters, like big bold red letters. And then my dad opened the letter, and then, like, that, like, basically, like, ruined our relationship. He's like, oh, I can't believe you're selling the house. Can't believe that you got married without me knowing. And then yeah, so, and then at that time too, they had a car underneath my name, and they weren't paying that either.
Mm.
So they weren't paying the house, they weren't paying the car. And then my relationship between my dad and, like, my parents and and my brother too, he got involved even though he wasn't really involved. Like, I didn't talk to them for a while. So then me and her, at the time we were going from, the budget suites.
Yes.
So we would go from, like, one budget suite, like, do, like, a short stay, like, stay for, like, a week, and then find, like, another one for, like, another week. At the time, she was the only one that was working, and then I was in school full time.
Mhm.
And then, like, it's funny, like, one of the things that we used to do, like, we would get, like, Tupperware, and we would go to, like, a Korean barbecue place,
Mhm.
and then we would, like, cook, like, hella food,
Mhm.
and then, like,
Put it in
and
there.
then put it in the Tupperware.
Yeah.
And then, like, we would, like, eat as much as we can at the Korean barbecue place, and then, like, stuff the Tupperware, and then eat that for next day. And then, like, that's, like, basically that was my life for a while.
Wow.
And I feel like that stress and, like, just, like, living that type of lifestyle, like, made me, like, gain weight.
Mhm.
And then eventually, like, her parents, moved to Vegas, and then we stopped doing the short stays, like the budget suites, and we moved in with her parents. And then eventually we ended up getting our own townhome, me and her. And then at the time, like, I thought like everything was going good. Like, we ended up like deciding to go get a house together. But in between this time, like, things were just like starting to get like rocky too. Like, the old arguments were starting to come back again. Like, there was one time, like one thing that made me really stressed was like, I started to get into investments at the time. And one time I got like lucky one time, because what was it, Elon Musk? I knew he was gonna go on a podcast with Joe Rogan, and then basically like I bet that Tesla stock was going to go down, and then I made like $3,000 from this one move, and then I used that money to go on a trip to Hawaii for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Right.
when we were in Hawaii, like the last week when we were in Hawaii, she brought up, I think it was the strip club thing. She brought it up, and then I was just like pissed off. I was like, oh, why are you bringing this up on vacation? Like, why are you trying to start an argument? And so like from there we finished the vacation, and things started getting rocky between me and her. And I thought that at the time that we could save the relationship by like trying to get a house together, but it got to a point where like she started to go out, and then she wasn't coming home, and then yeah, like our arguments were just getting like worse and worse. And then yeah, there's like, remember how I was telling you like there was like a story I wanted to like tell you?
Yeah.
So I think I only told this part to only 2 people, which is my 2 brothers. So I think this was my lowest moment, like the lowest moment of my life. So there was one time me and her, we got into a really bad argument, and then at that time I had guns, and then I took both the guns, and then I drove to Suncoast Casino into the parking lobby. And then so let me back it up a little bit. Before I did that, like, we got into like a physical argument. Like, we were like actually like wrestling. Like, she like threw like a glass on the ground, and we were like wrestling like over the glass. Like, I still have like a scar on my side because like a piece of glass like cut me.
Wow.
And I remember I was like really pissed off that she like broke the glass on the ground. At the time I like elbowed the wall, and then like I have like scars right here from like elbowing the wall. And then like after that I just remember like storming off and then grabbing the guns and then driving to Suncoast. And then yeah, so I was in Suncoast in the parking garage, and then I actually had the gun loaded, and then yeah, I had the gun like pointed at myself, and then yeah, I don't know what stopped me from not wanting to pull the trigger. So, and that, I would say that's like my lowest point
Ever. Gotta be.
Yeah, I was like, oh, why? I was like, if I do this, what's the point of? I think it was like a lot of like feeling numb, and I was just like, what's the point of me like doing this? If I do this, yeah, everything's gonna be done, but like, what's the point? Like, yeah, at the time I was just like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm going through too much stress. Like the stress of school. I'm like, am I even gonna pass school? I'm not talking to my parents anymore. I just lost my house. Yeah, it was just like all that stuff like combined together. I'm like, oh, I'm hella fat. I was just like, yeah, I don't want to deal with it anymore. And then yeah, I don't know what stopped me from not pulling the trigger.
It was me. Clearly.
Yeah, so every time when we go into Suncoast, I think about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you give like flashbacks.
Not like where to the point where I'm like, oh, this is like traumatizing. I think about it, I'm like, hey,
this is where
yeah,
this happened.
yeah. I'm like, oh, you wanted to take your. The reason why I did it at Suncoast was because at the time that's where I lived close to.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
We went to. Did we go to Suncoast one time?
Yeah.
To watch a movie?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so you know that area where we walked underneath the parking garage? It was in
there.
It was in the that first area.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to cut you off, but when we went there, what were you thinking?
I was just like, oh, yeah,
this is the place.
Yeah, this is the place. But it was just, you know how like some people they have like PTSD, like there's like a moment where they just like freeze. They're like, oh,
yeah,
it's not like that. Not like that.
It was kind of just like a oh,
yeah. But that was like, so I would say that was like, I was suicidal at that time. But
and what year was this? 2019.
This is probably going into 2019 now.
Okay.
And then yeah, so then I guess just to like keep going on the timeline, I found out that she eventually like cheated on me. But at the time we were getting a house together, and the one more month before we were actually supposed to move in, like the house was done like building and everything. Me and her, we were sharing Google Photos together, and then that's when I found out that she cheated, was because I got a notification on my phone. This was like 5 minutes right before me going into work. I'm like walking into work, and then all of a sudden I get a notification, and it says she uploaded a photo or photos on Google Photo. And then I opened it up like a few steps before walking through the door, and then it's her in bed with another guy, and she's taking the picture. And then like I think I like stood there for like a few minutes, and then I like took screenshots. I sent it to her, I sent it to her mom, and then I turned off my phone, and then I went into work and acted like nothing happened. But like inside I was like
fuming.
No, I was crying.
You're crying.
I was crying.
Heartbroken.
Yeah. And then
did you feel your heart sink?
You know when you're like
to your stomach?
Yeah, like when you're trying to talk and you're like choking.
Choked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like that for like walking in, and I had to like walk into like their break room and then like get my bearings together, and then go into my first patient like, hey, how's it going? Like, yeah.
That's fucking
hey, how's it
rough.
going? I'm Anthony. I'm gonna be your therapist for today.
He was like, he put on a mask and he's like, oh, hi.
Basically, yeah, that's what I had to do.
Wow.
And then so from like, so my shift starts at 7, and then we get a lunch break at 12. So 5 hours of just like putting up a front of just like, hey, I'm your therapist. I went into, so during lunch I go into the office where my boss is at, and then I like broke down crying, and then I like told him what happened, and he actually made me cry more because he gave me a hug. Like I feel like that's the last thing that I wanted to have, was like for him to hug me. But I guess it's something that I needed. But like, yeah, that made me like cry. And then he was like, oh, do you want to finish the work shift or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I'll just finish it out. I only had like 2 or 3 more hours after lunch. Yeah, and then what was I doing at the time? So where I was living, my lease on the townhome with me and her together was just coming up, because we were about to move into the new place 1 month before. So after I sent her the pictures and everything, when I came home, all of her stuff was already gone. And then yeah, so all of her stuff was already gone, and then yeah, like we basically like agreed to get a divorce. And then So since me and her we had our names underneath the house, I basically had to like tell the builder like, hey, like I gotta cancel the house, even though it was like
Built, ready to
it was
go.
built, ready to go. Everything in there, like the color, the carpet, the cabinets, like even where we wanted the outlets, like that was our decision. Like I felt like that we put a piece of us into that home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to like tell the builder like, hey, I'm getting a divorce, so I can't get this house anymore. And then so they eventually like canceled the home, and then at that time, like that made me like I was already depressed, and then that just like kept me like I was already depressed, and that like kept me like down, like I wouldn't say that it made me worse because I was already like I feel like at rock
You're
bottom.
at rock bottom.
Yeah. And so I was living in the townhome, still driving from Vegas to Pahrump, and then the house was actually on the way to Pahrump. Like every time I would pass it, like I would start tearing up because I could like drive and then just like look at it.
It's like right there.
It's just right there, and I'm just like, oh. So this was like my second time where I actually I thought about killing myself. So in Pahrump at the time they were doing like construction, and then there was only like a one lane, and then there was one time I like accelerated my car, and I was just like, I'm gonna ram my car into this next car. And then I just remember like thinking like, oh, there's another person in that car, and I'm just like, they don't deserve to get what I'm about to do. And then I think that was like after that, like that was the last time I had like suicidal thoughts, because I was just like, there's no point of like me like taking my life and then on top of that taking someone else's. And then so eventually the lease of the townhome ends. I try to get back into talking terms with my parents. I told my dad like, hey, I got a divorce, like she cheated on me. At first my dad was like welcoming. He helped me move my stuff, and then he was like, yeah, just live in our apartment. So then I lived with them for a few months, and then in this time, me and my ex, we were still talking. Basically, I was like, oh, kind of wanted to have like some closure.
Closure. That's
so
funny.
Yeah, we did get some closure.
That's funny.
So basically, like, yeah, we talked, and then there was one part where me and her, we were talking in a park, and then at this time I just started training Muay Thai. I think I was like 3 months into Muay Thai, or maybe like two or 3 months into Muay Thai. And then so me and her are talking in the car, and then all of a sudden this van like pulls up, and then it's the guy that cheated, or that she cheated on me with. Yeah. So she sees the van and she's like, get out the car, that's his car. And I was like, oh really, that's his car? And then so I get out the car, and then he gets out his van, and then he, you know, like the van that your dad has,
The work van.
yeah, the work van.
Yeah.
So he gets out his work van. He was like, oh, I told you what I would fucking do if I see this guy. And then at that time, I'm already big. I'm still probably like 230. But like, I know how to kick.
He knows how to kick.
I know how to kick now. And like, I know how to like punch. And then like, he's like yelling out of his car, and I was like, oh, you ain't gonna do shit. And then like I get up to his face, and then he eventually like says like, oh, I'm not gonna fight you here because I respect her. And then at that time she was like telling me that he used to like lock her in the room, and then I was like, oh, I was like, oh, you don't respect her. I heard that you lock her in the room. And then he's like, I don't do that. That's a lie. And then I basically like start taking my glasses off and like taking my hat. And then
he said, respect this.
basically. And then I really wanted to fight him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, look at your stupid ass jeans. Look at your stupid ass V-neck.
Yeah.
And then
he just looks stupid.
Yeah, I was just like making fun of like whatever I could in the moment.
Yeah.
And then she eventually like gets into his work van. And then as he was leaving, I like went up to his face. And then for whatever reason in that moment, like I could like hear my dad's voice. Like basically like, if you're gonna fight, like make sure you throw the first punch. Like you're not the one that wants to get hit first.
Yeah, hit first.
So I like for a split second I thought about that. So I threw the first punch and I clipped him right on his left cheek. But the way how I punched him, I didn't punch him with the knuckles, I punched him with like the palm.
Yeah.
So like I had a closed fist, but it was
you palmed him.
Yeah, I palmed
with
him
a closed fist.
Yeah, palmed him with a closed fist.
Yeah.
And then like he didn't get knocked out, he was just standing there.
He ate it.
He ate it, and I was just like, and then I was just standing there. I was like, I really just punched this guy. Yeah. And we're just like both standing there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I remember I was just like, oh, like, I threw the first punch. Now I got to do the next move. So I like tackled him into his work van, and then from there, like I kind of like blacked out. Like the next thing I remember is I remember like pushing him down. And then all of a sudden he's like uppercutting my balls. I think he gave like 3 like good uppercuts to my balls.
Just clean. Yeah. Clean shots to the balls.
And then I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
And then I remember like us like coming back up, and then he like tries to gouge out my eyes. Like so I just remember like he stuck his finger in my eyeball, and I just see like a white light.
Yeah.
And then we like separate for a second. And then I punch him a few times, and for whatever reason, I remember he like threw a punch, but then he missed. And then we separate again, and then I tried throwing a kick, and then I miss, and then he starts like running around the van, and I'm like trying to run after him. And then there were people at the park, and then there was also a paramedic. So the paramedic sees us fighting, and he drives from one end of the parking lot to where we're at. And the paramedics, they just sit in there. They don't do anything.
They're just waiting.
They're just waiting. And then the people at the park, they try to separate us. And then, so as they're separating us, I throw like, I throw him like 1-2 on his face. And then I remember, I don't know if I still have the scar.
From his tooth.
It was from his tooth. And then, yeah, I just remember hitting him like 2 more times when they were separating us. And then they separated us, and then he goes back into his car, and then he drives off, and the people at the park, they're like, you want us to call the cops? And then I was like, no, that was my wife. And then they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, it's okay. Like, he made her own choice to leave with him. And then at that time, like, that actually like fired me up. I was like, I fought someone.
Yeah. It's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know if I called you. I think the first person I called was Choi. And he didn't pick up his phone. And then the park that I fought at, it was right across the street from where my parents lived. And then so yeah, that like, so me and the guy fight, and then I go back to just like living my regular day. And then so then me and my parents, we start having like a fallout, because like my dad, like at first, yeah, he was like welcoming, but then it got to a point where he was just like, oh, I told you not to fucking be with her. Like he said it like that. He's like, you're so stupid, why didn't you like listen to me? And what like made it worse was he wanted me to like get another house but he wanted to use my name. And then I'm already like scarred because I let him use my name I let him use my house.
So he wasn't paying.
He wasn't paying, and then he had a car underneath my name that he wasn't paying. And then I told him, I was like, why do you want me to use my name if last time when I did it, you didn't help help pay it, or you didn't pay for it. And that caused like a big argument. And then after that, I started doing like Airbnbs, like random Airbnbs every week. Like I would stay at either at an Airbnb or at your place. I stayed at your place a few times, right? Either at your place or Choice Place. And then eventually I ended up, since I was working in Pahrump, I was like, oh, might as well I'm pretty sure there's Airbnbs in Pahrump. So I did Airbnbs in Pahrump.
In RV too, right?
In the RV trailers. And all this time, like I was just like depressed. I probably didn't seem like depressed because I remember at that one time, I remember you like watched me cook chicken in the little like quick pot or whatever. But I was actually depressed.
I don't know, like when at that time, I remember you came over and you just looked sad.
Did I?
And like I gave you a hug, and then like you just like started like crying.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. I remember that. That was, I don't know when that was though, but like I knew you guys were like having issues and it was already bad. So
that was after the fight, after I fought the guy.
It might have been. Yeah.
Everything like at that time, for some reason, it's a blur to me now. Like everything is just like jumbled up. Like every time when I tell the story, like I feel like I always have to like backtrack and like to make it make sense.
Make it make sense, yeah.
Where was I?
You said when I watched you cook the chicken, you were depressed.
So I was like really depressed at the time because I'm just like, I'm doing random Airbnbs. I'm not talking to my parents. Just like going from like being with someone and then all of a sudden like not being with anyone, and now I'm living on my own.
Yeah.
I don't even have like, I felt like I was basically like homeless. And then at the time I was just like, oh, let me see if I can get my own place, like an actual like house. And then an actual house in Pahrump. So there was a builder, they actually approved me to get a 5-bedroom home. 5-bedroom, 3-bath.
5-bedroom?
Yeah, 5-bedroom.
5-bedroom, okay.
Yeah, 5-bedroom home with a 3-bathroom, 3-car garage. Yeah, 3-car garage.
Wow.
And then I told them, I was like, I'm just living by myself. Like, I don't need that much house. And I was just like, I don't want to have that big of a payment anyways. But they were like, yeah, it's approved if you just need to sign the paperwork. And I was like, no, the house is too big. And then maybe a few weeks after that, they were like, hey, we actually have a small house, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. They're like, would you take it? And then I was like, yeah. With this house, I didn't have a choice to like pick any option. Right. So like going from like a home where I like picked everything, like the color, the carpet, I want this outlet, to like all of a sudden like, oh, here's a house, do you want it? I was just like kind of desperate at the time. I was just like, yeah, I'll take the house. So in between this time, me and my ex were still having trouble with the divorce. She ended up not signing the correct paperwork, and then I was like, why is the divorce getting delayed? And like I needed to get the divorce approved before I can get a house. So that was like stressing me out, because if I got a house while I was still technically married, like she would have should have a house,
like an ownership.
Yeah, she would have ownership of the house. So that was like stressing me out even more. And I was just like, why isn't this divorce getting approved? So I found out that she didn't sign the right paperwork. I had to go to the courthouse. They weren't gonna tell me unless I went over there. So I basically had to like reconnect with her again, like talk to her and be like, hey, can you sign this paperwork? And we had to like meet in person so we can get the paperwork notarized. And then so we get the paperwork fixed, and then the divorce was done within like a month. And then I like rushed that over to the builder. I was like, hey, the divorce is finalized. And then the house that I have now, they actually gave me the keys Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was like a Christmas present.
Yeah, it was a Christmas present. So if you go on my Instagram, there's a post on there. It says Christmas gift to myself.
Yeah. Wow.
And then yeah, it was the house.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was what year?
I think that was 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then so I'm like living in this house in Pahrump with like just me by myself, and like still feel like depressed, but I don't feel like suicidal at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Still
sad.
down.
Yeah, down, like sad and alone. Like I think that was like the most alone I've ever felt.
Mm-hmm.
Like to go to work, like put on like a front, like, oh, nothing's going on at home, like, hey, I'm the therapist, like,
Right.
let me help you, even though I could barely help myself. Like,
Right.
I'm trying to like help others, and then coming back home to like an empty home and like nothing in there.
So even like when you were like in the Airbnbs and all that, like being home alone was the most alone you felt.
Yeah, it was weird. Like even with the Airbnbs, there was still the guests, and I would like talk with like the guests.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. I didn't know there were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like not the guests,
The owners.
the owners. Yeah.
Okay.
So then when I finally did get my own home, like there's no one to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the time, like every now and then, like we would like talk through like Instagram or whatever, but like just being home alone, like yeah, it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, I didn't talk to my parents for a year.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, a whole year. They just like randomly, my dad like randomly showed up to my house one time. I was like, hey, can we talk? And then that's how we started like talking again.
Mm-hmm.
So this was probably going into 2020. So we started talking again. I started going to church with them, and then but I'm still depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where the cat comes in.
Yeah. Katarina.
So when me and her got a divorce, we had a cat and a dog. Both of them were adopted, and I let her keep both of them because I was just like, I can't keep them. I'm doing Airbnbs. And then she eventually gives the dog, or she eventually gives the dog to her parents, and then she keeps the cat. And then a few months later, like I get a notification from the shelter saying that someone returned the cat. And so that means that she returned the cat to the shelter where we adopted her from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, I'm actually allergic to her. So yeah, I thought about like for like a good week
Mm-hmm.
before I was like, should I adopt her? I'm like, I'm allergic. I don't want to. I have a house by myself. I'm like, I don't want a cat in here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they gave me like a 2 days notice. They're like, oh, you have 2 days before we put this cat for adoption. And then I think after that notice, I was just like, oh, let me adopt the cat,
Yes.
Katarina.
Yeah.
So I had to pay the readoption fee, like some other fees or whatever, other BS fees that the shelters like to do. And I was just like, why do I have to pay these fees if it's my cat?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, like I paid the fees, and then I think it was like a good like 6 months before the last time I saw Katarina. And then I remember like they brought her out in the box because COVID was still happening at the time. They brought her out in the box, and then like it was basically like a sidewalk,
A curbside.
like a curbside drop off. So like they drop her off in a box.
Yeah.
And then I just remember like she's like meowing, and then I open up the box, and then she's sitting in my passenger seat, like just like looking at me. And then remember I was like, oh, Katarina. I was like, do you remember me? And then she was just like, "Meow, meow," like, and then she starts like purring and then just like nuzzling her head against me.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then I drove her back to Pahrump. And then yeah, and then that's how I got Katarina back.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that part.
And then I feel like Katarina like actually helped me not feel as lonely, which is kind of crazy, like to say like, oh, a cat helped me not feel as lonely. And then but yeah, that's how I got Katarina.
I think that's why there's a lot of cat ladies out there with like 10 cats.
I don't know why you need 10.
I don't know if you guys can answer that, why you need 10 cats. But
yeah, so that was going into 2020. Yeah, 2020 at first it started good for me. I tried to get back into the dating scene, and then what?
I was like, wait, okay.
Yeah, 2020 I tried to get back into the dating scene.
Okay.
And then I remember like meeting this girl, and then me and her we clicked.
I know this girl?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, okay, that one. Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Like we clicked our first date.
Air quotes.
Air quotes. We eat at a breakfast place, and then we basically talk for hours, and then like not even realizing that it was hours. And I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Like this is the first like time I'm like dating after a divorce. Like I didn't think I would get back into it that fast. And then
yeah, that's why I was like thinking. I was like, oh, that was pretty fast.
Yeah. I think that was, so the divorce was December 2019, and then I think it was July, like a good 8 months before I started dating.
That's fair.
So me and her, we, I guess like date, talk, whatever for like 3 months, and then it got to the point where I feel like that she wasn't ready for the energy that I was giving out, because I think I was putting too much of myself out.
Were you too available?
I was too available. Yeah, I was too available. There was one time I felt like there was like a disconnect between me and her, and I was like, oh, I think she feels sad. Like that's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, oh, she's probably sad. Let me go. I went to the store. I bought like random chocolates. I got a card. I'm like, oh, I like wrote something in there. I was like, oh, I was like, oh, I hope you're feeling okay. Basically, I'm like here, whatever. I drive from Pahrump to her place, and then I leave the bag with the chocolate and the card on her door, and then I drive back to Pahrump, and I told her, I'm like, hey, I left this on your stuff. So like things like that, I'm like, it's kind of like simpy, like
wow. That's when I gave him the nickname.
I feel like if there was someone that was like ready for that type of energy, like they would be like, oh, that was a really sweet gesture,
for sure.
But for someone that's just like like they feel like that they can't give the same thing in return, that's probably too much for them.
They can't like reciprocate.
Yeah,
that
they can't.
energy.
She probably felt like, oh, this is too much. I can't reciprocate that. Like, so me and her, we ended up like not, like it didn't work out because I wanted something more and she didn't want the same thing. And then after her, I was doing like Tinder stuff, and then I think my final straw from like dating for the rest of 2020 was so me and this girl, we were supposed to meet up, and then so we already made up a reservation like to meet up.
I'm sorry, pause.
Yeah,
this is the same girl?
This is a different one.
Different girl. Okay, all right. Sorry, I spaced out a second.
Yeah, so this is a different girl. I go to the place that we already agreed to go to, and then I like sit in the restaurant, like waiting for her, and then she ended up not showing up.
She stood you up.
She stood me up, and then so going from a divorce and then going to like trying to like date someone that like wasn't like ready for me, and then to going to being like stood up, like that brought me back down again. Yeah. That made me depressed again.
Yeah. Oh damn.
Yeah. And then so for the rest of like, and then at the time I was just like, oh, I can't let myself like be depressed. So then that's when I started school. I thought that could be like,
that's when you were like, I'm gonna go back to school.
Yeah, that's when I was like, let me go back to school. Let me find something to do. Like, let me find something to like distract myself. I went back to school, and then I feel like that was a mistake too, because school made me depressed too. Like, it made me, not only was I depressed, but then now that added stress on top of me being depressed. And then
do you think you just went back to school to like fill the like a void, or like
to
just kill time
to not think
to
about,
distract yourself?
Yeah, because I thought at the time I was relying on someone else to make me happy. Like, I thought like, yeah. I thought like, oh, if I get with this girl, I'm gonna be happy. So
right.
But come to find out, like, if I can't make myself happy, like if I'm relying on someone else for happiness, and then you take that away, like, yeah, it's just not gonna work. Like, I have to make myself happy before I can find someone else, like,
to be happy with.
Yeah, to be happy with. Like, the person that I be with, they're just an extension,
right?
Like, they're not something that I should be relying for happiness,
right?
But so yeah, I get back into school. School makes me depressed, or I'm already depressed, but like on top of my depression, I'm stressed. And then I did that for 2 years of school. I was actually supposed to finish school in 18 months.
So 2021?
Yeah, sometime in 2021. But then I almost quit school, actually. And then I called my school. I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. It's becoming too overwhelming. And then work was getting overwhelming too. Like, I was getting burnt out from work. I was like, I don't want to work here anymore. So I ended up telling my school, like, hey, can I just do part-time school? So by doing that, they ended up extending my school for 19 or 4 more months, and then which I thought wasn't that bad. And then at the same time, when I was transitioning from part-time schooling, I ended up finding another job. So the stress of going from part-time school and then going into a new job like that, like, stressed me out even more.
Right.
And then yeah, so I eventually finish school and then start the new job. And then yeah, and then I ended up becoming less stressed with the new job because I'm working less hours and getting paid more. And then yeah, and that kind of like brings us to where we're at now, because I'm done with school now. Or I ended up finishing school.
So where did it, what time period was like the turnaround, the turning point to where you became happy? So was that after you graduated?
After I graduated school. Yeah.
Okay.
So after I graduated school, I was just like, that took a lot of stress off of me. And then also with my work, like, I wasn't coming home burnt out. Like, I would come home and I would still have like energy. Like, I'm like, oh, I could wash the dishes. Like, before, I would come home and then like I would come home to like a sink full of dirty dishes. My bed would be filled with clean clothes, but like not clothes that were put away. It was just like clothes that I
piled on.
Yeah, I piled the clean clothes on top of my bed, and then I would just lay underneath my blanket, and my clean clothes are on top. Like, that was really depressing. Like, to come home, like, oh, there's dirty dishes in the sink. There's clothes that haven't been put away. Like, yeah, I did that for a long time.
How about now? Do you just have your clothes all put away all like all the time now, and dishes are clean?
Like every now and then, I'll probably like leave like a dish or two. Like if it's like late at night, I'm just like I'll wash it in the morning.
Right.
Same thing with my clothes. If it's just like late at night, like I'll leave it in the basket. Like I won't throw it on my bed, and then I'll eventually put my clothes away.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like before where everything would just like pile up.
Right. I think that also says things about the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you made the adjustments and the change in your life. But I'm super glad to know that you're like in a happier phase in your life now.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of like switched roles a little bit. I mean, mine's not as like depressing, but I'm just glad you're happy. It's good. Like I'm happy to know that you're happy now. Because yeah, you definitely went through some shit that I don't think I would have been able to handle.
It was hard, especially like hearing this story about like our mutual friend.
Yeah.
Like I can only imagine,
recently.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah.
Like I can only imagine like what he went through. So like I kind of wish that he kind of like I would always like make fun of him.
Yeah. I know.
It's like messed up now, but like I would always make fun of him, but I wish he would have like reached out.
For sure.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Because like I could like relate to like that type of pain where you feel like you don't have anyone to turn to, and you just want to end the pain with something like instant. So, but yeah, it sucks. Oh.
I think it's really important that if any of you guys out there like going through something, I think it's really important to talk to somebody, you know? I'm always like, hey, like to my friends, to my closest friends. Anthony's one of my like best friends. He's like my brother. You know, I'm always like, I'm here if you need to talk. Like just talk to me, you know what I mean? So I'm also here for anybody. Just reach out. It's hard. I might not have all the answers, but you know, it doesn't hurt to just let stuff out and just talk about it, you know? And that's why I also am really open about like what I'm going through, is because I think if we just hold stuff in like that, depending on the person, I think it could lead us to some bad things. It's yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but bad times don't last. I think.
There's this meme that popped up in my head.
What was the meme? Oh. Insert here.
He's like, it's an African guy. He's like tough times don't last, or he's like tough times don't last. He's like tough men last. He's like, like, have you seen that meme?
No,
I'm gonna find it.
No,
really quick.
I've never seen that. But like, insert meme.
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
Insert meme.
It's like tough time never lasts.
That's also like kind of like why I want to put myself out there and entertain people, is just maybe if somebody's like having a hard time, like I want to be that kind of like almost that escape for a little while, even if it's just watching me play video games or something just to make you laugh or smile or look at things differently. So, you know, that's kind of like where I want to go, and that's what I want to do for people. And with what I'm doing at work right now, I don't think, you know, I'm just making a business richer. That's all.
I think like what helped me is like I found something for me to like look forward to every day. I think you just haven't found that for you yet.
Yeah. And it sucks because I want to find it.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, when I played that game last night and I streamed, like I had like genuine fun, and I actually was really excited to stream and talk to people again, because I used to enjoy that a lot back when I had the time. But I feel like now it's like I may have some time, like I can make time, but I don't have like that energy or like fire to do it. Just like when it comes to like my health, my physical health, like I get that maybe it just sounds like I don't want it bad enough to like be disciplined and work out, eat healthy, but I don't know. I think there's more to it. Why I'm not doing what I need to do and what I want to do. I don't know. It's hard. I'm struggling every day.
Do you feel like 2023 is a better, or just going to be a better year for you?
I always think with every year that passes that it's going to be better and better and better, but I don't know for a fact. I can just only hope and then try and make decisions to make it a better year. But I don't know. I used to do that with my photography. Like with every year, I'm like, all right, so we're going to get more shoots this year. We're going to get more shoots the next year. And then eventually, like the last year, I've maybe done 1 or 2 shoots. Like it's just...
Because you're not passionate, or it's just...
like the fire just kind of got exhausted. Got put out. So like I want to do it. I want to work on projects, but like it's not like, if I had to like give you a list of like my priorities, like it's not like up there. Like it's just like, oh yeah, you know, if I have time, if I have energy, if I feel like it, but that's not there. I did like it's probably this year, yeah, that I kind of put more effort into putting out content, and that I actually saw growth. Like when I reached 90,000 views on YouTube, I was like, holy shit. Like if I actually keep up with this and like stay disciplined to do this while enjoying it, I think it could be something bigger.
I tried watching your stream this morning, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man.
But I caught the end of it.
Oh,
Your boxing.
Yeah, at least you caught the end.
Yeah.
At that point, though, I was pissed. I was going for everybody's heads.
I think you were... I was just waking up, and then you were just ending.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Did you get to see any fights?
I think I saw like a minute of your last one.
Did I win?
I don't remember.
I think I won. Yeah, I don't lose. But yeah, it's definitely something I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
I think I just saw the post either today or yesterday. I don't know if you've seen like the Harvard test.
What is it about?
It tells it, like they say, list 25 things in your life that you've accomplished, and then within those 25 things, pick the top 10 or top 7, something like that. And in that top 7, write a story, and then within those stories, see what's most similar in, like, let's say in those 7 stories, and maybe 5 of them include, like, you mentioned a stage. So if it mentioned a stage, maybe you want to go into like theater or performance or something like that. And then it kind of just like, that's maybe where your passion is, or where you should go. And I feel like for me, if I had to think about it, like most of the things always involve some type of art form, and mostly cameras and videos. And I think to me, that's where my heart really is. You know, that's where I want to be. But I don't know. I'm still experimenting, and I'm still trying. I mean, like October next year, would be 10 years since I've been on and off inconsistently streaming. But within those 10 years, I still went back once in a while. And I feel like content creation is where I really want to be. And like, again, like I said, I want to like entertain people and just be this kind of like getaway for people. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah. That's why I like doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Podcasts and just talking. And
Yeah, we just did this is like 2 hours already.
2 hours, yeah. This is part 2.
Us
So
talking.
yeah. I miss it. We did this COVID time, and I think before.
Like when I watched, like I haven't watched those videos. Like, I don't think I've rewatched any of those videos. Like I'll probably like would click the video
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
and then immediately like click out because I would just like cringe.
Yeah,
And
it's-
then
for sure.
because I'm just like, what is this guy talking about? Like this guy's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also something, I don't know. I think it's just something to look back on also. And I think mostly it's just for us. It's not really for, you know, people out there, but someday when we like look back at it, it's like, oh, look at us. And then now that I've kind of heard, you know, your story, and now it's like, maybe if I look in like our older videos, like, were you depressed then? Or like, were you depressed at this point? Like that kind of stuff. It's like, it's crazy to see. And then crazy to think about, like, oh, me there in this video, dude, I was going through some shit there at that time, but doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Just to think about that stuff is fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
And then you see, I don't know, just growth. And yeah, that's I don't know. That kind of stuff like fascinates me. It's just watching somebody's story.
What's a higher percentage? Like,
Bing chilling.
what's more likely to happen in 2023? You to do a jiu-jitsu class, or for you to go on a date?
What's a higher chance?
Yeah, which one has a higher chance?
A higher chance is probably jujitsu.
Dang.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what's the odds? Like 50-50? Like 50?
What's the odds?
Like 60-40?
Like 90-10.
90-10?
Yeah, 90-10.
Dang. Who wants to put on bid on?
But like the percentages of it happening is still very low.
Of jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. But between those two, jiu-jitsu is a lot higher because I don't know. I just don't think I'm at the place, like, mentally, emotionally, financially, where I want to be to even provide for another person. I think that's getting pushed back to like my 30s. I'm already turning, sorry, he's not here. I'm turning 29 in a few months. And how old are you?
31.
31. He's starting at 32. Would you do you have any regrets in your life so far?
I don't think I have any regrets. Like, there are things that I wish that didn't happen, but
Mhm.
like you need those things to happen to make me who I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, let's say if I was still with my ex, like, I don't think I would have done jujitsu. I don't
Mhm.
think I would have went back to school. Yeah. I probably would have still been the same person where I'm just putting so much of myself out to another person and I'm not giving enough to myself. So yeah.
Yeah, fuck that, Anthony. That's old him. But you think you'd have kids by now?
With that person?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were planning on so the step was like she already had a good paying job. I was just starting my career. So the plan was after we move into the house, like we were gonna start planning.
Mhm. Wow. Imagine that. Anthony is a dad. Papa Anthony.
I think I would have been like even bigger than when I was at my heaviest.
Yeah. Ah, man. In another life.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm the big one now. So we'll work on that. I think that's my goal right now. I just gotta take things like one thing at a time too. It's really hard for me to like stick with something too. It's really hard. And I don't like doing things alone. That's my biggest problem. And I need to get over that. I know tonight Kevin was like, "Alright dude, we're gonna start going to the gym." Because he wants to get in good shape too before his birthday. And his birthday's before mine. So he's like, after work, we gotta go. I'm like, ugh. But I need to do it. I think I just need somebody to break my heart again.
I think
No, don't do it.
you have to find a reason to do it for yourself. Like when I lost weight, like I think I was doing it out of like anger. Like not because I'm like, oh, I want to lose weight. I was like, oh, that person so stupid and like so mean that I want to, like I was like taking my frustration out on the weights.
Yeah, see, that's what happened. Like my first time, like I was just heartbroken, and I used that as fuel. But now, like throughout the years, and kind of like my philosophy on life and outlook on life kind of evolved and kind of changed around. Like I don't even take things as serious anymore, and it's just, it is what it is. Like I don't even trip. And I think that also is like a detriment, and something that's like kind of holding me back is with that kind of thinking that, you know, it is what it is, and you just gotta accept it. But I don't know. I gotta start doing more, I feel, just to better myself.
The no jujitsu.
It is what it is. No, I'm just kidding. It's still a possibility. I want to do it. I bought a fucking gi to roll with this guy, and we still haven't rolled. I think easing into it, I think would help for me for sure. He also said, so this is on the record. He also said he's gonna help me lose weight because my mom keeps saying I'm fat. Every time Anthony's here, she would say it.
You think your mom like sees me and that like triggers her?
Yeah, I think so. She probably thinks like that could be my son instead.
Yeah, that's Filipino parents.
Yeah, toxic. I love you, mom. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it helps, but it doesn't help. Like I'm like, I've been hearing it my whole life, like always something negative. But that's just how it is. And a part of me is kind of like it just goes through one side of the ear and out the other. Like I just mute it. But I don't know. I also see myself and be like, you're big boy. So
I have a question to like end this.
okay.
So if you had to choose between just having 2 legs and no arms, No, let me rephrase this question. Who would win in a fight? Like they're both the same strength, but like one person only has 2 legs and no arms, and one person has no legs and 2 arms. They're like equal in strength, but one is just legs and one is just arms.
I would think the person with just legs win because legs are just naturally stronger than arms. Like it just makes sense. But like if they were equal strength, like legit equal strength, I would say arms. The power of the thumb by itself is so much more powerful than the fucking big toe. But I don't know in what context, but that's just my answer. What's your answer?
What's my answer?
Yeah.
I would think that like the person with the legs can just kick this.
I was envisioning it in my head.
But like the person with the arms could just like maybe
right, and then like grab.
Yeah,
you can like, grab it and then go. Boom, Chris Curtis.
I was thinking about this question on the way back to Prump.
When?
Today. Like who would win in a fight?
Wow. Tune in on our next episode for the next question. My name is Erik. This is Anthony. Thing chilling. Peace. That was good.
Like that?
That was good. 2 hours. Good way to end it. Say bye, Anthony.
Being chilling.
Being chilling, 再见。